This video made possible by the ICC Stellar Surveyors and subscribers like you.
So when we're developing these ships, obviously this is the first iteration of the Scout. It's already been sold, and in the past, we may have just ran with this design and just built it. But obviously now we've been doing this for 2 years, and we're sort of more familiar with the process and the kind of things that we can change and sort of and improve upon. The things that Chris are happy with. So basically, we've taken this original design and sort of, this is basically being built by guys in Texas, in Austin. But in this studio, we've also been working on the Jean transport ship. So we've already had to, start taking. Starting our journey, basically sort of working out some of the style guide for that ship. So basically it made sense before the guys in Texas start building this, we gave it a proper second pass of concept and solve all, a lot of the problems that we know will exist, and also advance the style. So luckily or unluckily for Gary, this was basically his first task. Because of Gary's background in automotive design and what he has in his portfolio, it seemed like this was going to be a really good sort of fit for his style. And so, today we'll just sort of talk through the ship and the sort of the thought process of Gary, because a lot of this work has come from Gary's head. Generally what will happen is that I'll set an initial style guide, sort of, generally the way I work is I sort of set a cone of vision, and as long as the concept artist bounces around in that, then they get their creative freedom. I get what I want. We hopefully deliver something that Chris is super happy with, and you fans as well, and then we move on from there. So this ship, we definitely wanted to keep the verticality, but the areas that we were keen to improve upon was basically the high-tech feeling of the ship. So its form more, advancing its form language a little more, working more with its materials. Take it away, Gary. What was the first?
The first
area really
was also to re-give a spirit of the culture of Xi'an through their shape language, and so we have go back to the silhouette that was designed on the original concept, looking a little bit like insect and some bio inspiration. It's inspired by the nature, but also by some surface and surfacing of new cars, and to work a lot on surface that catch the light in a good way.
Yeah, because it was one of the sort of founding things was always that it was sort of based off a lotus, kind of like a lotus flower, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was, and that's, sort of part of the history given to us from the writers. So we've been obviously this is still, it's got that sort of petal feel. That's an important thing that we want to keep and also feature in some of the language.
And also we introduce a little bit some polygonal design that is more used in the design field for advanced technology that Xian will have. Also inspired by supersonic flight, developed by a famous supplier who are making new wings. So we try to introduce this kind of component with some all-in wings to make a remember of this kind of new supersonic ship to show an advanced technology. We work also a lot on the cultural and history of the Xian through some hallmarks and some signature of their culture, and also some fractal texture pattern to show that we are going into a next-gen game and futuristic.
Yeah, so there's hints of 3D printing, sort of getting those impossible forms, because the writers have always been very keen on having this sort of high, the genre, high tech. So it's just about how do we differentiate them from, say, the UEE or the Banu. So this has been a really good exercise for us, and to sort of really sort of push what we deliver for concepts, especially for the artists when they get to build this stuff. That hopefully we've answered more of the questions than we may have done previously. So there'll be less. Basically, by the time the artist gets to build this, they will have pretty much a design bible. So it will list all the materials, the graphics, the decals, the construction, the theory, the colour of the engines, the colour of the lights, you name it. So, and in the past, a lot of this work has been done to a certain extent, but I've been really happy with what we've been delivering for this next sort of round of concepts. So you can see here that we've been sort of also investigating. So basically, with the Xian tech, we've basically got this sort of essentially a triangle shape, which was sort of signifies sort of a maglev technology. And so we've been sort of building on top of that for this as a race. We've also been looking at sort of very sort of visual language, sort of
that combine tribal feeling and electronic feeling. So we try to make a new language sign to define a little bit the culture of Xian.
It's not fully developed. This is more something that we can work with the writers on, and Chris, and just sort of say, hey, here's some ideas. So in this case, yes, we haven't finalised the language, but it's taking a step towards a direction. At least then people can sort of go, yeah, that's cool. No, I hate it, and then we can move on from there. We've also been looking at, again, a similar sort of like holographic style for the UI, for the cabin, for the cockpit, sorry. And that's again sort of tying in with this more organic feel. Whether we, chances are we don't really have the tech in place to do this, but it's something to strive towards. We can't always do what we want, but at least we sort of create inspiration, and then it's always a case of shoot for the moon, and if if you can get close to it, then great. I mean, generally we do try and make our stuff as easy as possible to implement, basically. So this is basically, what is this? What have we called it? It's a style sheet, essentially.
Yeah, it's research also on material to try to find something used in the last prototype in design industry to show the advanced technology of Xian. So playing with some carbon, with some fractal pattern, some material coming from Xian system planets, and to make a real storytelling through the material and get an immersive concept for the game.
And again, you can see here, just some of the essentially the triangular motif, and just as experimenting with how we can maybe implement that as either button technology or basically we moved on from that, and essentially that most of the Xian cockpit is holographic, but we've taken some of this and sort of given it turn it into more of like a maker's mark, isn't it? Essentially like a hallmark, if you will. We haven't fully sort of figured out how that translates across different ships and different manufacturers, which ships it'll be on and how it changes, but again, it's just that delving a little deeper into the theory of the ships and giving the artist more inspiration. So what do we have here?
It's a remember of the hallmark spirit. So we work also on some little component, and through this component we try to create a new gameplay with some sliding propulsor that will be integrated in the ship. So we reflect also about integrating new gameplay through the design in this kind of board.
Yeah, in this case, it's often because obviously Gary's super creative, so these ideas are coming out of his head. He's got ideas about all sorts of things, and these things not always get implemented, but it's something that we can we chat to the designers about. Find is there a way that we can use this? And at the very least, it gives a little more direction for the artists again on sort of how to build the thrusters, the manoeuvring thrusters, and again just defining shape language. So this is as some of you will know, this is the interior of the Scout. This is the first round concept, and we've stuck pretty close to this. Basically, we've wanted to keep that open feel, basically, sort of a minimalist interior, essentially. So you've got a high amount of visibility, but then Gary sort of advanced it.
Then we try to differentiate more the design between civilization through the shape language to make something more pronounced in terms of culture and different technology. So we use some different shape and material to make a difference between the civilization, technology and manufacturer, to go a little bit further on the spirit of Xian.
So you can see here, we've basically implemented the hallmark system. We've started to factor in some of the script. You've got elements here of sort of the 3D printed materials, and sort of really working with the PBRs, with the physically based shaders. So you're getting really good glossy surfaces right next to matte surfaces, and really just having a good experiment. That like you should, when you get into this thing, it should feel like it. There are hints of Lamborghini in this, but we're pushing for that high end feel. So when you get into this cockpit, you know, it should feel high tech. It should feel foreign, basically. And you can see from the control system that it is different from traditional ships.
Different UI and trying different things about that. There is also a work that is behind all of that to get the more immersion as possible, with making some split line and screw and all these little details that are more specific to Xi'an. So there is all this kind of work that we are doing behind.
These sheets are super helpful because you know, if we can have one of these for every ship, then it's a lot easier for us to figure out, you know, are we crossing too many, you know, are ships looking too similar to each other? You know, what makes this manufacturer unique? And this is something that Dan had started doing for like the Idris, and this is some of his work. This is some of his work here as well that he did for the transport ship. And so it's about sort of taking elements from this and then working them into the Scout. But it just, again, it's all building on the brand essentially. So this basically all helps to define the brand, to define the manufacturer. It just makes it clear for the artist. Makes it clearer for people like me. You know, we've got a lot of ships. There's a lot of panel lines going on. So anything we can do to help differentiate makes our lives a lot easier. What have we got next? So this is, as you know, as we're developing this ship, you know, the guys Josh and Chris had already done a good job of sort of fleshing out. I think maybe Elwyn had done a first pass on this. So, you know, we already had the animation, or the basics of the animation of it landing. So originally, I believe the idea was that the seat would come out along this front piece, which basically didn't really work for us, and it's still, you know, if you were landing it like a custom built landing platform for this ship, then probably you would have some platform here, but chances are you wouldn't be at something custom built. So really you still need to get the pilot somehow down to the ground. So we're changing it basically. So this is just an example of, you know, some of the theory that we're going through in terms of the cockpit. You know, you're going to be entering from the side now. Again, the glass is going to rotate and then peel back, and again, it's got that sort of floral feel. It's like a bud opening, so it's kind of still working with that lotus flower feeling. And also, we were really struggling to sort of figure out how to get a high tech way of getting into the cockpit, weren't we? Like, I think. Yes. How many examples, how many variations?
We have done a lot, maybe more than 20, but we are searching to make more than the shape language and the surfacing and the texture, to have cinematics that looks or are fitting with the technology of each civilization. So to respect also the way they manufacture their ship, how to access to the ship, how to land, so all this kind of.
So we're basically here. We've ended up on using the maglev system, or sort of technology basically behind that theory. You know, because what we wanted for the steps is to be fully integrated, so you wouldn't really know they were there. And so basically, what will happen is a little panel will reveal the steps will all essentially float out and then expand and create dual-purpose footplates and handholds. Essentially, that's the theory. So this is just a rough guide, and it will change probably by the time this gets released, but it should still be the similar sort of theory. So this gives us really nice animation opportunities. You know, you can imagine when the steps come out, there's a slight bob. When the pilot's climbing up, there's a reaction, and then when his foot comes off, they settle again. I still need to speak to Steve about this, but I guess we'll figure that out. So this is all the kind of theory that goes behind it.
And this is more to show that there is also the work that is presented as a pure artwork, but there is also all the work that is done behind as real manufactured object. So there is a lot of problems that we are trying to solve through a design process established in the society to make some iteration as fast as possible to adjust the surfacing, the split line, the volume, the texture, and solving also the functional problem. So there is a lot of work that is done behind just the final image that we see.
Because this is a pretty complex ship. It's small, it's compact. There's not a lot of areas where we can hide any of our mistakes, essentially. So the whole ship's going to have to be pretty tight. So this basically is just us sort of working with the modelers. You know, when they get to white box or sort of early grey box, you know, we're looking at their work, just sort of checking that the sort of, you know, and it's not like we're like, it must be built like this. It's just that my job as a director and Gary's job as the concept artist is to basically try and achieve the vision. You know, it's not always possible. Sometimes it's only 90 or 80%, but you know, we're always working with these guys and sort of, you know, giving extra information on the sort of the
volume, the
volume, yeah, the cross section of these areas, how things are, the sort of the way things should rotate, and it's just, you know, it's just constant backwards and forwards basically, and that's what we've been doing on this ship. So basically, this is being worked on by Josh and Chris in the States, and so I'm really looking forward to this one. You know, we're going to have a lot of new materials. You know, it should look pretty alien. Like, I think this one will be really, really cool. I can't wait to see it in a hangar. And so, you know, you guys should probably, you know, fingers crossed, you'll see it at some point this year.
Yeah, I really appreciate to work on this ship because of its really special shape, and I think a lot of players are waiting this kind of also alien ship that looks also interesting by their difference, and we are looking forward to see what will be the final result done by the US studio.
Thanks, Gary and Paul, for taking the time to show everybody that.
And now it's time for this week's MVP. Erin, the envelope, please. Of course, we don't have time to make an envelope here. We have, this week's winner is Gray-Headed Gamer for his continuing contributions to the Star Citizen community. And I think you need your dialogue back.
I do. Thank you. GHG does video and streams for the community, which we watch and really appreciate here as well. So great job, Grey-Headed Gamer. You're this week's MVP.
And finally, here's your art sneak peek. And of course, as always, thank you to all of our subscribers for making this show possible. We will see you next week in LA on Around the Verse.
Around the Verse.
Sorry.